As many? The chair recognizes the honourable member for Caroline Rumkey in San Salvador.
Madam Speaker. I want to thank all of the participants and contributors to the 2024 budget debate as I rise to bring it to a close. Now, we are grateful that this debate afforded us an opportunity to make clear the scale of our ambition for the Bahamas and for Bahamians, and to detail some of the major investments we are making in the country and in our people. Our government is united in our determination to solve problems that for too long have been treated as unsolvable. We are determined to create historic change across our islands with game-changing energy reforms, with major investments in infrastructure to promote our economic growth and prosperity, and above all, with significant investments in the health, education, safety, and dreams of the Bahamian people. From our first days in office, just a little more than 2.5 years ago, we have worked to preserve and honor and cherish everything that makes our islands and our communities and our way of life special, just as we have worked to take on the long-standing problems which have been holding us back as a people and as a country. Together, colleagues, along with the Bahamian people, we brought this country back from the brink. We started our term facing a crisis in the economy, a crisis in our hospitals, a crisis in our schools, a crisis in the nation's finances, a crisis in governance, and a crisis in morale. We didn't hesitate. We didn't pause. We didn't wait a moment to get started. And we certainly didn't take a long vacation as our predecessors did when they began their time in office. Instead, we got to work on day one because we believed and will always believe in the ingenuity and strength of the Bahamian people. We knew that if we lifted the curfew, ended the lockdowns, ended the state of emergency, and started investing in Bahamians instead of punishing them, that we could recover faster than anyone expected. And that's exactly what happened. It's never a good idea, to underestimate Bahamians. That much has been clear for a long time. After all, talk to our most successful nation builders, and you'll hear stories of humble beginnings and triumphs against all odds. We are a small country with big talent, and we are never afraid to lead the way. I'm talking about world-leading talent in business, sports, entertainment, and science. I'm talking about innovation and leadership in financial services, tourism, and in the fight against climate change. Greatness is what we achieve when we decide not to settle for good enough. That's why simply recovering from the pandemic was never our goal. We always wanted to exceed the norm and break new records. And that's exactly what we are doing. Yes. This administration is committed to solving our country's hardest challenges, even when the obstacles are formidable. Yes. It is true that many of our most complex and intransigent problems flow from the outside in. The weapons, the viruses which cross our borders, the more intense hurricanes and rising temperatures and seas caused by climate change, and the plague of misinformation and disinformation flooding our screens and phones. The climate is warming because of pollution produced by the largest countries in the world, but we are the ones left with the bill. And I mean that quite literally. 4 Category 4 and 5 storms in under a decade have cost our country billions of dollars. The interdependence and complexity of the modern world is why it is so important for smaller countries like ours to build strong relationships with other countries and their political and business leaders, to promote our country and our country's interests, to seek new opportunities for Bahamians, and to build a kind of strong coalitions in the international arena that can lead to change and progress. Everyone who understands the way the world works understands the importance of doing so. However, not all of our problems arise from outside our borders. I regret to say that some of our misfortune can also be traced to bad decision-making and bad actors at home. Think about, for example, the shock 60% increase in VAT in 2018. And while everyone remembers 2019 as the year of Dorian, do you recall the first 8 months of that year?
Yep.
Or the year prior?
Shock
Look
the
back,
economy.
and you'll see a stagnant economy.
Yes.
No significant new investments, and billions in new borrowings. And of course, the tragedy and disruption of the pandemic were made more calamitous by capricious decisions, onerous travel visas, and haphazard, cold-hearted policies. And then there are all the lies that pollute social media. Regrettably, plenty of that garbage juice is produced locally. But listen, my colleagues, my colleagues and I agree. In the Bahamas, we have too much work to do, too much potential to realize, to either the bad policies of the past or the manufactured lies of the present to slow us down. Madam Speaker, all of our problems must be attacked, no matter their origin. When we entered office, a growing global inflation crisis led to double-digit price increases, with prices rising faster than they had in more than 40 years. Supply chain disruptions after the pandemic and the war in Ukraine caused price increases that hit import-dependent nations like ours particularly hard. While inflation is now beginning to moderate, prices are still far too high and continue to cause hardship for too many. I know exactly what it is like when a little money comes in and you are forced to decide which bills get paid and which have to wait, because there ain't no way to pay them all at once. We have introduced multiple policies to offer relief for Bahamian families. And of course, relief from the burden of high bills is a crucial motivator for the game-changing energy reforms, because you can't take on the cost of living and the cost of doing business in the Bahamas without taking on the cost of electricity. The impact of our innovative energy reforms will be felt across our islands. These energy reforms are